the end is, how would you use these technologies to help us become better humans? Because technologies are tools that we develop, and it's up to the users how you use those tools to make our world a better place. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Hello, I'm Jaekyung Kim.
Giving up.
I just sleep right away.
No math, no the future. Why math is the language of life. It can improve the survival rate of the patients.
Well, I never knew that math could be used to study life.
So what happens when math meets with AI? Ready? Yes.
Gyeongju, a city that holds 1,000 years of history. The cherished values preserved over time have shaped who we are today. Now, through new encounters, we step into a better future. Sustainability, innovation. With the spirit of connection, a new millennium story begins. As APEC and Gyeongju come together, APEC meets Gyeongju.
The moment we wear it, our spirits lift. It helps us grow strong in body and in mind. As we wear it, we learn patience and respect. The belt system motivates students to strive harder and continue growing. This uniform shapes movement into grace and turns performance into something thrilling. Now, embraced around the world, Taekwondo shares our culture, philosophy, and values with pride and spirit. Though it may seem simple, this uniform holds your passion and your journey. It belongs to Taekwondo. Wear the extraordinary. Be with Taekwondo.
South Korea's a week-long Chuseok holiday begins on Friday. A record number of people are expected to fly abroad, while tonight's traffic won't ease until 11 p.m. Consumer prices went up in September at a slightly faster pace than market expectations. And the government says it'll make sure to stabilize food prices for the nation's big holiday. South Korea's benchmark KOSPI broke the 3,500 mark for the first time on Thursday, driven by investor optimism over business partnerships between OpenAI and top chip makers Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix. Starting with a National Foundation Day tomorrow, this year's Chuseok will last a week or even up to 10 days for some people. Now, with that, millions of people will be traveling in the next few days to celebrate the golden holiday with their loved ones. We connect with our Park Junan at Seoul Station, one of the busiest transfer hubs. Hello there, Junan.
Hi, Tammy.
So, Junan, you've been at the station since the afternoon and well into this evening. How are things looking at this hour?
Good evening, Dami. As you just mentioned, I'm currently at Seoul Station, one of the busiest train stations in South Korea. And ahead of the Chuseok period, which starts from tomorrow, I could see so many people actually coming to the station after finishing their work. And also, as you can see behind me, many are waiting either to travel during the holiday or to reunite with friends and family. And according to the latest data from Korea, as of 3 p.m., 304,000 tickets had been booked for today, accounting for over 81% of the available train tickets throughout the country. Korea also stated that a total of 3.6 million tickets are expected to be sold during the Chuseok holiday, which the company has designated as the Chuseok Special Transportation Period from October 2nd to October 12th. Passengers here are excited. Take a listen to what some of them had to say.
I think it's great to be here during this holiday, experience also to see new parts of Korea. Also meet up with some friends I met here last year. We meet up also with a group of friends here in Korea.
I'm planning to go down to my family home in Yeongwol, Gangwon province. During Chuseok, I'm looking forward to family gatherings, eating songpyeon rice cakes and lots of delicious food, and having fun together. I'll also get to see friends from my hometown and meet people I haven't seen in a long time, which I'm really excited about.
I'll be spending time with my family, seeing my grandfather, who is also my daughter's great-grandfather, and enjoying a warm, happy time together. My daughter really likes her grandparents, so we're both looking forward to seeing her play and have fun with her great-grandfather. We plan to spend a joyful and fulfilling time together.
I can certainly feel the excitement, Junan, but not everyone's traveling by train. How are things looking out on the roads for those traveling by car or by bus?
Certainly, Tammy. Not all people will just take the train station, but also they would travel by car or bus. And according to the Korea Expressway Corporation, the total expected traffic volume for today is 5.35 million vehicles. And the corporation noted that as the holiday period begins on Friday, traffic hasn't reached its peak. Well, as of Thursday at 7 p.m., it should take about 4 hours and 50 minutes from the Seoul tollgate to the Busan tollgate. From Seoul City to Gwangju City, it should take 3 hours and 40 minutes. From Seoul to Daejeon, it should take 2 hours by car. For traffic departing from Seoul, congestion is expected to ease after 11 p.m. For traffic heading towards Seoul, congestion is expected to ease after 9 p.m. But Tommy, as you know, not everyone will be spending the holidays at home. Between October 2nd and October 12th, the Korea Airports Corporation estimates that about 5.2 million passengers on both domestic and international flights will travel through airports nationwide during this year's Chuseok holiday. Back to you, Tommy.
All right, Junan, thank you for that coverage. That was our Park Junan connecting live from Seoul Station. Junan, happy Chuseok.
Happy Chuseok, Tammy.
And now, as this long Chuseok rolls around, prices seem to be on people's minds, with all the traditional gatherings set to take place. Amid this, September inflation is in the 2% range. For more on this, our Kim Do-yeon is in the studio with us. Welcome back, Do-yeon.
Good to be here.
So, Do-yeon, first of all, let's go over with the overall inflation rate. The latest data shows it at 2.1%. Could you elaborate?
Right. As you said, the latest data from Ministry of Data and Statistics shows that the consumer price index rose by 2.1% in September compared to the same month last year. Now, this figure marks a return to the 2% range, as we spoke about, after a temporary dip in August, which officials attributed to a one-off mobile phone discount promotion. Take a listen.
While the rate of price increases for agricultural, livestock, and fishery products has slowed due to measures aimed at stabilizing public livelihood for Chuseok, it appears the situation is influenced by processed food prices remaining high and the conclusion of telecommunication fee discount.
Processed food prices climbed more than 4% in September, with coffee in particular surging over 15%. Prices of livestock goods rose by more than 5% and fishery products by more than 6%, further slightly driving inflation.
So as the Deputy Prime Minister said, the government has made efforts to control food prices heading into the holiday, which seems to have worked. What was done exactly?
Right, we're going to roll back the clock for 2 weeks now. They had prepared for this. The government announced a comprehensive set of measures, then described as the largest on record to stabilize livelihoods. To directly address food prices, it supplied a record 172,000 tons of 21 key holiday items like apples, pears, and beef. That's 1.6 times the usual amount. A budget of 90 billion won has also been allocated for nationwide discount promotions, offering up to 50% off on major agricultural and fishery products for businesses. 43.2 trillion won in new funding is being supplied to small and medium-sized enterprises. And to ease travel cost burdens, highway tolls will be waived for 4 days with discounts of up to 40% on KTX return train tickets.
Now, one big thing about prices is that, as we all know, people will gather for big meals at homes, at charet tables. How are the prices looking this year?
Right. So, according to the Korean Agro Fisheries and Food Trade Corporation, the average cost to prepare a traditional charet table, which is the ancestral right table, has actually seen a slight decrease. The cost is just under 200,000 Korean won, or about $150, which represents a 1.8% drop from last year. This is being attributed in part to the government's, as we spoke about, supply management efforts for key agricultural and livestock products in the run-up to the holiday, which helped the overall price of the specific basket of goods required.
Now, Do-yeon, I know you went out to a market to meet and hear their voices. What did they have to say?
Right, on the ground, it could be a little mixed, right? Vendors I spoke with reported that businesses has been kind of slow. They cited two main reasons: high prices for certain items and reduced foot traffic due to the extra long holiday. Here's what one had to say.
Business is bad. Fruit prices are so high that not many people are coming. And because the holiday is long, I wonder if people went traveling abroad. They're just not coming to the market.
And shoppers largely agreed with that sentiment, noticing price hikes on specific aisles.
Things like meat don't seem to have a big price difference, but I think vegetables and fruit have gone up a bit compared to usual.
Do-yeon, now, are there any more further discounts that the government is providing?
Right, and the initiatives, they continue to ease burden on shoppers and support smaller vendors. The government is running a promotion at traditional markets. From yesterday until October 5th, consumers who purchase domestic agricultural, livestock, and fishery products can receive a rebate of up to 30% of their purchase amount. This is given back in onuri gift certificates with a cap of 20,000 won per person. The goal is to provide direct relief for consumers while also boosting businesses for small merchants during the holiday period.
All right, Do-yeon, thanks for coming in tonight. I'll see you after Chuseok.
All right, have a good holidays.
You too. And now, ahead of the long extended holiday, the benchmark KOSPI index soared past 3,500 mark on Thursday to post a new high. Our Moon Hae-dan tells us more.
The KOSPI is charging into record territory. For the first time in history, the main index soared past 3,500 points, peaking as high as 3,565.96 during Thursday's session. At Thursday's close, the index finished at 3,549.21 points, up 2.7%. The rally was led by Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix, which surged on news of a new partnership with US AI giant OpenAI. Samsung rose over 4%, while SK Hynix jumped more than 12% to an all-time high. The gains followed CEO Sam Altman's visit to Seoul, where he unveiled the Stargate project to expand global AI infrastructure. Under the plan, the two Korean chip makers will supply advanced memory chips critical for next-generation AI while pursuing new data centers in Korea. Global factors also played a role. Weak U.S. economic data has heightened expectations that the Federal Reserve will begin cutting interest rates sooner rather than later. That has fueled dollar weakness, strengthened the Korean won, and attracted foreign capital back into Asia's fourth-largest economy. Market analysts say the rally could continue into the year's final quarter, though some caution the index's heavy reliance on foreign inflows and a narrow band of tech stocks leaves it vulnerable to shifts in sentiment.
For now, the market is strong on expectations of a semiconductor supercycle and related optimism. But as we head into the fourth quarter, concerns over a U.S.-led economic slowdown and potential recession could weigh on sentiment and drag the market lower. Overall, we've entered a period where investors need to exercise caution.
On this note, President Lee Jae-myung commented.
우리 공직자들이 잘 준비해서 이 비정상으로 다시 돌아가지 않게 하고 또 더 앞으로 나아갈 수 있도록 제도든 정책이든 또 행정이든 최선을 다하면 지금보다는 좀 더 나아질 수 있을 겁니다. 경제 회복의 온기가 국민들의 삶 구석구석에 잘 스며들도록 모두가 다 혜택 볼 수 있도록 힘써야 되겠습니다.
With AI driving demand for advanced chips and Korean firms at the heart of the supply chain, investors are already speculating whether today's milestone could mark the beginning of what some are calling the KOSPI 5000 era. 문혜련, Arirang News.
And South Korea posted a current account surplus for a 28th straight month in August. It's a record current account surplus for any August and the second longest surplus streak on record. Our Cha Yoon-kyung reports.
Despite weak exports, South Korea's current account, which shows money flows into and out of the country, extended its surplus streak to the 28th consecutive month. The surplus was driven by a fall in imports and an increase in equity income, according to preliminary data from the Bank of Korea released on Thursday. The current account reached a surplus of $9.15 billion, or about 12.8 trillion won in August. This is smaller than July's surplus, which was $10.78 billion, but it is a record surplus for any August and the longest surplus streak since the year 2000. The cumulative current account surplus during the first 8 months of this year stood at $69.3 billion. That's 24% higher than the same period last year, which was $55.94 billion. The BOK said the country's current account surplus is likely to be widened further in September, in line with its annual projection of a $110 billion surplus. During a press briefing on Thursday, BOK official Song Jae-chang said exports reached an all-time high last month based on strong semiconductor and automobile shipments. The official added that the central bank expects the September surplus to exceed $10 billion. Song said that the impact of the United States' new tariff scheme has been limited so far because of inventory use and diversification of import sources. Song added that the semiconductor sector is performing well and oil prices are stable overall, and that the tariff impact on exports to the U.S. would gradually appear, but it remains to be seen. South Korea has reported a current account surplus every month since May 2023. The goods account posted a $9.4 billion surplus in August, the second largest for the month on record. Cha Yoon-kyung, Arirang News.
In celebration of the 19th World Korean Day this coming Sunday, President Lee Jae-myung today urged the citizens to come together with overseas Koreans at a challenging time as he vowed to secure the safety of overseas Koreans. Our top office correspondent Yoon Jung-min has this report.
The nation finds itself in the middle of a fast-changing era where new challenges are emerging. That's according to President Lee Jae-myung addressing a World Korean Day event in Seoul, adding that's why the country needs to work together with overseas Koreans.
5천만 국민과 세계 각지의 700만 동포가 하나로 마음을 모은다면 우리는 다시금 이 위기를 이겨내고 더 큰 도약을 확실하게 얻어낼 것입니다.
Noting contributions by overseas Koreans in elevating the country as 10th largest economy in the world and a global cultural powerhouse, a message of full support was evident.
해외에 계신 우리 국민과 동포 모두의 권익과 안전을 지키는 일에 더욱 힘을 쏟을 것입니다.
Safety has emerged as a key concern for many Koreans living abroad in the wake of the recent raid at a Hyundai factory in the U.S. and controversial detention of hundreds of Korean workers. President Lee also vowed to improve the overseas voting system for those who have to travel a long way to cast their ballots.
우편 투표 방법 등의 가능한 방법들을 도입해야 되는데 이 제도를 바꾸는 데에 대해서는 많은 논란이 있는 게 사실입니다. 여러분들이 힘들겠지만 힘을 모아서 단단하게 뒷받침해 주시면 아주 빠른 시간 내에 제도 개혁이 가능하므로
Also addressed were lowering the age threshold for multiple citizenship, currently limited to people aged 65 and older, as well as bolstering consular support. World Korean Day falls on October 5th. Present at Thursday's event were around 370 people, including heads of Korean communities from around the world. Medals and rewards were awarded to those who have contributed to Korean communities and the nation as a whole. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
Also today, President Lee Jae-myung has called for an end to racial discrimination and hate speech targeting inbound Chinese tourists.
정말 문화적이지 못한, 정말 저질적인 그런 국격을 훼손하는 그런 행위들을 결코 방치하거나 또 해서도 안 되겠습니다.
Speaking at a weekly meeting with his top aides on Thursday, President Lee stressed rising anti-China protests and groundless online rumors accusing Chinese visitors of having criminal backgrounds or involvement in organ trafficking. With more Chinese tourists expected as those on group tours are temporarily allowed visa-free entry starting this week, the president ordered relevant ministries to take strong action against any behavior that threatens the safety of foreign visitors. Foreign Minister Cho says a new security deal with the U.S. may be finalized this month ahead of the APEC leaders meeting that begins October 31st. Speaking to Yonhap News Agency, Cho said bilateral talks on the security front have led to a rough agreement and that he'll push to share details of this deal within the month as the two governments continue to seek common ground on the trade front. Initially, Seoul had sought to seal a comprehensive deal covering both trade and security with Washington. South Korea is postponing its annual large-scale field training, the Hoguk Exercise, to mid-November from its original schedule of mid-October. According to the Joint Chief of Staff, the decision takes into account the importance of a readiness posture as world leaders gather in Gyeongju for the APEC leaders meeting that starts on October 31st. The exercise, if held this month, also reportedly overlaps with the timing of this year's parliamentary audit and international events such as the Seoul International Aerospace and Defense Exhibition. The Hoguk Exercise is a theater-level field training aimed at enhancing the joint operational capabilities of the Army, Navy, and Air Force. The World Intellectual Property Organization's chief, Darren Tang, is in South Korea to discuss ways to tackle intellectual property issues. During his visit here, our Park Kwon-woo sat down with them for an exclusive interview. Do take a listen.
From addictive K-pop songs to beauty and skincare products, Korea's cultural exports are built on creativity, ideas, and technology. As they gain popularity around the world, protecting their intellectual property has become more crucial than ever. At the forefront of this effort is the United Nations World Intellectual Property Organization, or WIPO. Its Director General Darren Tang says Korea's innovation and creativity are inspiring.
Visiting South Korea is a way for me to keep up to date with the latest trends in innovation and creativity, see what Korean innovators and creators are up to, see whether we can draw lessons from this to also inspire other countries.
For around 2 decades, Korea has been investing time and resources to share its IP experiences with other countries at WIPO.
Korea has been also working on the Korea Fund to help other nations, protect their IPs and also give them the technology and so on. So how has that been working throughout the years? It's been around 2 decades, I must say. And so how has that worked successfully, and how important has that been to help other countries, and any specific examples as well?
A graduate from Timor-Leste who was educated in the Masters of IP and Development program here in South Korea, and she's now our consultant to help Timor-Leste to build its first national IP office. And she's just one of the people, of the thousands of people we have trained.
Beyond funding, Korea plays a wider role on the global stage.
WIPO is working with a lot of countries to identify websites that infringe IP rights. So through that, it allows stakeholders, to either block these websites or to not finance these websites. We are the place where they all come together to discuss what are the latest trends, and more importantly, to discuss how to address these issues.
But Tang warns against taking intellectual property for granted.
We forget there's a lot of hard work that goes behind a new technology, a new brand, a new song, a new dance. We must make sure that we support the innovators and creators so that they can continue doing what they're doing, which is to bring joy to our lives, to make the world a better place, through their new ideas.
At the same time, he shared his concerns for misleading content generated by artificial intelligence and suggested some solutions.
Requires discussion amongst many different segments of society. AI is like any other technology that we've seen, like when I was growing up, there was e-commerce. And each generation then need to address the technology, make sure that we use it positively, and either regulate or reduce the harmful use.
But at the end of the day, he stressed that AI can also serve as a powerful tool, not only in addressing IP infringement, but also in giving creators new ways to express themselves. The WIPO chief added that constructive dialogue, along with sharing expertise and experiences as Korea has done, will be crucial for countries to develop socially and find new engines of development. Park Kwon-woo, Arirang News.
will gradually rain from tonight, and cloudy weather is expected during this Chuseok holiday. Rain will start tonight from Chungcheongnam-do and Jeollado provinces and Jeju Island. It will spread to most parts of the country except the Seoul metropolitan area tomorrow. This time, rain will be concentrated in Jeollanam-do province and Jeju Island, with as much as 100 millimeters of heavy rain on the south coast of Jeollanam-do province and 120 millimeters on Jeju Island. Around these areas, when it rains, there will be heavy rain of around 30 millimeters per hour. Seoul will start off at 20 degrees Celsius tomorrow morning, Daejeon and Daegu at 19 degrees. Daily highs move up to 24 degrees in Seoul and Busan, 23 degrees in Gyeongju. After the rain stops on the day of Chuseok, you'll be able to see the full moon through the clouds in the west and south regions. Happy Chuseok holidays!
That is all we have for tonight. I'm Kim Dami. From all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and good night.
해금은 두 줄로 된 현악기인데 저도 처음에 시작하게 된 거는 그 두 줄에서 너무 다양한 소리가 나오는 게 너무 신기했고 일단 해금이 되게 사람의 목소리랑 좀 비슷하다고 많이들 하세요. 줄을 눌러서 이렇게 음을 계속 왔다 갔다 진동하는 그런 형태를 띠고 있다 보니까 애절하다라고 많이 말씀을 해주시는 것 같아요. 이 곡은 제가 좀 오래 좋아했던 친구에 대한 제 여러 감정을 담은 곡인데요. 슬펐던 마음 혹은 뭐 고마웠던 마음 이런 여러 가지 감정들을 한데 묶어서 마음이 담긴 곡이라고 할 수 있겠습니다. 현대적인 음악으로 이제 재구성하는 단계를 거칠 때 항상 중요하게 생각하는 거는 음악의 분위기를 해치지 않는 선에서는 전통적인 주법들, 식임새 이런 전통의 냄새라고 할까요? 맛? 이런 걸 살릴 수 있는 요소들을 좀 집어넣으려고 하는 편이에요. 저는 요새 연주하면서도 스스로가 마음도 편하고 몸도 편안한 음악들을 좀 자주 들려드리고 싶다. 제가 음악으로 위로받았던 것처럼 제가 하는 음악들로 여러분들이 좀 위로받을 수 있는 순간이 있었으면 좋겠다. 그런 무대를 만들려고 노력해야겠다라는 생각을 했던 것 같습니다.
It was very important for Korean people during that time to get their freedom back.
도시는 세계와 연결되어 문화를 창조했고 새로운 것을 받아들였다.
함께여서 우리는 더 자유롭고 더 멀리 갈 수 있어.
닫힌 문이 아니라 열린 질문으로.
나에게 APEC은
자유,
융합,
국제성,
다양성, 포용,
개발.
신라의 정신이 APEC 2025로 이어집니다.
Welcome to Within the Frame, where we bring the most pressing issues across the globe into focus. I'm Kim Mo-gyan. This year marks the 50th anniversary of diplomatic ties between South Korea and Singapore, a partnership that has grown steadily across trade, technology, and people-to-people exchanges. Now, this comes as South Korea's city of Gyeongju is preparing to host the 2025 APEC leaders meeting, drawing the attention of economies across the Asia-Pacific. As a founding member and home to the APEC Secretariat, Singapore is expected to play a central role in shaping both the discussions and the outcomes. Now, against this backdrop, we sat down with Singapore's ambassador to Korea, Wong Kai-jun, to hear how his country views the summit and the opportunities it presents for regional cooperation. Here in the studio with us, a big welcome.
Thank you, Mo-gyan. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for joining us. So let's start right away. I want to begin with your recent visit to the city of Gyeongju, where APEC is going to be held. What were your impressions?
Well, I think Gyeongju is a beautiful city. It is where tradition meets modern life. And through that, by having the APEC meeting being held in Gyeongju, the Republic of Korea is able to showcase its very rich and deep cultural and historic heritage to the rest of the world. So it's beautiful there.
So it must have been quite meaningful going there before the summit actually
Yes, it was.
happened.
Yes, it was.
So alongside summit, I've touched upon a while ago that this year actually carries very special meaning to South Korea and Singapore as well. It's the 50th years of diplomatic ties between the two countries. How would you reflect on the significance of this milestone?
Well, let's take a step back. I think if you talk about what the ROK has done in terms of selecting its theme for this year's APEC meeting, this year the ROK has selected the theme of building a sustainable tomorrow, connect, innovate and prosper. And it's a theme that Singapore fully and strongly supports. And we also support the priorities that have been laid out by the ROK for this year. And that includes, for instance, firstly, trying to enhance the physical, institutional and people-to-people linkages across the region to strengthen supply chains, and also to harness the digital transformation and emerging technologies, and also to bridge the digital divide, and to deal with some of the pressing challenges facing the region, such as climate change, food security, and demographic change. So in this context, if we look at what the ROK has managed to achieve in the past year or so, There have been a lot of different meetings that the Korea has hosted, and that has involved officials, experts and ministers from all 21 member economies. And that has been an important platform for the economies to come together to discuss some of these important issues, and not only just to work bilaterally, but also multilaterally. I think and that is the significance of having the APEC being convened this year. If you also cast back our minds to the establishment of APEC, all the way back in 1989. And as you pointed out, Mok-yeon, Singapore and the ROK were founding members of APEC. The world has changed significantly since then. In 1989, I think the member economies sought to leverage the kind of growing interdependence among Asia-Pacific economies to foster stronger regional economic growth. That time, from 1989 to now, of course, the world has changed. APEC itself has also evolved. APEC today is a large grouping with 21 member economies representing about 3/5 of global GDP and about half of the world's trade. So it's a massive grouping. But even though the times have changed, even though APEC itself has evolved, the primary and important function of APEC remains the same. And that is to foster economic growth and development within Asia-Pacific economies and also promote regional economic integration. And of course, to incubate new ideas to facilitate such cooperation. So in this regard, I think there's a lot of work that has been done so far in the ROK's chairmanship year, and we're looking forward to continue supporting the ROK in this front.
Right. Half a century of partnership.
Indeed.
So it really shows how far both nations have come together. Now, like we've said, APEC also is playing a big role on that. So for this year, why do you think this year's APEC actually remains a very strategically vital platform for Singapore?
I think if we look at what APEC brings to the table, right? So I mentioned earlier about how time has changed, but the primary purpose of APEC has remained the same. We also consider the fact that in today's world, the global trading system is facing some very profound and fundamental challenges. But despite this, that fundamental role of APEC has not changed. And that is important for Singapore and other member economies of APEC. The APEC meeting that the ROK will convene this year will bring together leaders from the 21 member economies to discuss very important issues. It also brings together the major powers, the US and China, and it's an opportunity for all of us to reaffirm our commitment to a rules-based multilateral trading system and also our commitment to APEC as the premier forum for regional economic cooperation. And so Singapore views that with a lot of support, and we will continue to be partnering the ROK on this journey. You mentioned earlier about the 50th anniversary, so I want to touch on a little bit on that as well. The past 5 decades, I think we have seen the relationship between Singapore and Korea grow very strongly. Because of our shared affinity on many areas, on many fronts, we have very strong, robust economic links, wide-ranging cooperation, as well as very frequent people-to-people exchanges. Our two countries also share common strategic perspectives on many regional and international issues, such as the importance of multilateralism, free trade, and also a rules-based international order. So in recognition of that depth and that breadth in our bilateral relations, our two countries have agreed to upgrade our relationship to a strategic partnership at the end of this year, where my Prime Minister Lawrence Wong, visits Korea for the APEC summit. So we're very much looking forward to that. The strategic partnership itself is built upon very strong dynamism between our two countries, and it sets a roadmap ahead for our cooperation, not just in the traditional existing areas of cooperation, but also in newer areas of cooperation. And we hope that this can, in turn, be a pathfinder for similar cooperation with other partners in the region.
Right. It will really be exciting to see the next 50 years to come.
Indeed, indeed.
Right. Now, like we've been stressing since our beginning of the talks, Singapore is a founding member of APEC, and also it's home to its secretariat. So for this year, how does the country see its leadership role evolving within APEC?
In Singapore specifically? Well, I think this year is the ROK's chairmanship year, so our role is to support the ROK in its chairmanship. But I think if I were to consider what APEC is about, we spoke earlier about my visit to Gyeongju and what I've seen there. So I think in terms of the efforts that Gyeongju has put in to try to prepare itself for the APEC summit, I think that's quite incredible. Anyone going to Gyeongju today and looking at what it was maybe a year ago, they can see for themselves how much progress the city has made. Singapore, we were host previously of APEC in 2009. That was a year after the global financial crisis. And at that time, we were quite fortunate to have the support of our fellow member economies as we came up with new ideas and also formulated policy responses for us to better set the stage for a durable collective economic recovery. So my point is that for any APEC summit to be successful, it is important that every participating APEC economy participates actively and constructively. So I guess the lesson that Kyungju has to learn this time around is that even though the circumstances are different from what Singapore went through, and Kyungju of course is in a totally different environment today, I'm very confident that under the able and strong leadership of the ROK and with the strong support of other APEC member economies, including Singapore, we will be able to see a very successful chairmanship of APEC under the ROK this year.
Well, let's certainly hope for that. But speaking of how successful was the 2009 APEC that Singapore has hosted, could you tell us some other tips or lessons that we could actually learn?
I think the ROK knows what to do, so I would explain on that. Sure. But I will make a pitch for Singapore in 2030, because in that year, Singapore will be the host of APEC. And we hope to be able to get the support from our friends and partners, including ROK, for our chairmanship year, as we steer APEC towards the Putrajaya vision of an open, dynamic, resilient and peaceful Asia-Pacific community by 2040.
Right, so let's hope the two countries could work together for this year and also for Singapore's hosting.
I'm confident we will.
Right. Now, let's get deeper into the substance of the summit, Ambassador. So what kind of key agenda issues do you think Singapore is actually focused on this year specifically? Do you think digital economy or net zero? What are your thoughts?
Let me talk about two topics that I think the ROK has identified as key agenda items for its chairmanship year. So that would include artificial intelligence and also supply chain cooperation. I think these are areas which we recognize are important and warrant much deeper discussion at the leaders level and also deeper cooperation among the APEC member economies. I think this year the ROK itself has convened a number of relevant meetings on these two subjects. So if you look at what happened last month, in fact, the ROK convened the inaugural Digital and AI Ministerial meeting in Incheon. So that was an opportunity for member economies to come together to really explore how we can harness technology, including emerging technologies, for the global greater good. So that was quite meaningful. If you look a bit earlier than that, let's say in May this year, at a time when our global trading system is facing rising uncertainty, the ROK also convened a ministers responsible for trade meeting in Jeju. And that was an opportunity for the economies to come together to reaffirm their commitment to a multilateral trading system that's rules-based, and also to reaffirm the urgent need for reform and revitalization of the WIPO organization. So at the multilateral level, there's a lot of cooperation there happening on these fronts. Bilaterally, if I may elaborate, Singapore and Korea are also working very closely on AI and supply chains. So in 2022, Singapore and the ROK signed an MOU on AI cooperation, and that was in connection with the Korea-Singapore Digital Partnership Agreement. And pursuant to that MOU, both countries are working to promote responsible development and use of AI. On supply chains, Singapore and the ROK also signed a partnership agreement last year, and that has allowed both sides to look at how we can enhance our resilience in critical sectors, as well as safeguard against potential disruptions. So both at the multilateral level and at the bilateral level, I think there's a lot of ongoing work that we are doing between Singapore and the ROK, and all this feeds into what the ROK is trying to achieve for its APEC chairmanship this year, and we're very happy to be part of that process.
Well, speaking of that, in that context, there's a lot of attention on the potential for deeper cooperation between Seoul and Singapore as well. So what kind of areas do you think could be ripe for, further cooperation?
Oh, there's just so many different things to talk about. So I mentioned the strategic partnership just now. This strategic partnership itself really covers a broad spectrum of areas. So it covers the traditional areas like trade and investment, but it also goes into newer and more strategic forward-looking areas like the digital and green economies, AI, emerging tech, and so on. The list of projects is probably too many to count, to enumerate, but I think suffice to say, between Singapore and the ROK, we have a very strong and substantive slate of concrete projects that we are trying to pursue between our governments, between our peoples, and between our businesses. So that in itself is something that we're very much looking forward to.
Right, it really sounds very promising. Now, beyond this formal diplomacy, we go back to your recent visit to Gyeongju, and you met the mayor of Gyeongju.
Yes.
It seemed quite able to highlight the power of personal connections as well. How much important do you think is human element in shaping long-term bilateral relations?
Mokyun, is a very good question, because ultimately it's humans that power all these exchanges that we have. If I can make reference to some of the social cultural events that we have been organizing here in Seoul by the Singapore Embassy. In April, for instance, the Singapore Embassy in Seoul hosted a special dance performance by a Singapore leading contemporary dance troupe called The Human Expression, and the performance was conducted at the Sejong Center for Performing Arts. That same month, we also held a food festival in Gangnam, where we brought together 50 different flavors from Singapore, including the famous chili crab, laksa, satay, and kaya toast, and many more. These events are very warmly received by our friends in Korea. And I think when we talk about the human element, the human touch, and the people-to-people exchanges between our two sides, that is an important aspect that undergirds our bilateral relationship. It is through such exchanges, through such interactions and sharing of our culture, we are able to build connections, form friendships, and in the process deepen our mutual understanding. And I think that provides a very firm foundation on which we can then carry forward our other areas of cooperation.
Right, indeed. Those kinds of actual personal and experiences could really leave some deepest impact within the citizens of both countries as well. Now, let's zoom out a little bit,
Sure.
Ambassador. So Singapore plays a central role in both APEC and also the ASEAN, of course. So how do you view the synergy between those two frameworks, and how can Singapore actually act as a bridge?
If you could just elaborate a bit more on what you mean.
So, what kind of role can Singapore actually have in having a big role in both APEC and ASEAN?
Well, I would say that Singapore is a member of both regional groupings, as you mentioned, and these are important regional groupings that help to anchor our regional economic growth and development. So we do want to continue to play an active and constructive role in these organizations.
Mm-hmm. Right. Now, before we let you go, Ambassador, then just a few weeks to go before leaders gather in the Gyeongju APEC leadership meeting, what do you think is the most important outcome that Singapore really wants to achieve from this year's meeting?
Well, I think it goes back to what I said earlier about the primary function of APEC. When it was first founded in 1989, and that is to promote economic growth in the Asia-Pacific economies and also deepen regional economic cooperation. I think that is something that we need to re-emphasize again through this APEC meeting. The fact that leaders from around the world are coming together to discuss some of these issues that affect all of us is an important one, and I hope that that will be the main outcome from the meetings this year. And like I said before, we are quite confident of the ability of the ROK government to run this chairmanship year well, and we hope to be able to play our part to support that.
Right, we will definitely be having a close watch on the summit to come. Ambassador, we really appreciate your insights tonight. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mokyun. It's a pleasure to be here.
And that'll be all from us from within the frame. Thank you for joining us, and be sure to tune in again next time as we continue to explore the stories that matter. Until then, stay informed and engaged.